Biochemistry. Biochemistry. Charles Darwin said something very interesting in his writings. He said this, quote, "If it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous, successive, slight modifications, then my theory would absolutely break down." That's what he said. And you know what? Biochemist Michael Behe of Lehigh University, who I also interviewed for my book, has demonstrated just that through what he calls molecular machines that are irreducibly complex. What does he mean by that? Well, he uses a mousetrap as an example, or as an analogy. A mousetrap, if you picture it, has basically 5 components. It has a base, it has a metal hammer, it has a spring, it has a catch, and it has a metal bar. All of those components must be present, and they must be in the right spatial relationship to each other for the mousetrap to work. If any of those components is absent, the trap doesn't catch half as many mice. It doesn't catch any mouses, mooses, what are they? Little critters, the little ones with the whiskers. Mice. It won't catch any mice at all. Now, evolution cannot produce a biological mechanism akin to the mousetrap all at once. It would be impossible for the odds for something biological mechanism like a mousetrap to have all the parts come together at one time. Nobody would suggest that that is at all possible. But here's the thing. There are biological systems analogous to the mousetrap that you cannot produce by numerous successive slight modifications because the precursor system would be missing a part. And therefore, it wouldn't function. And there would be no reason for it to continue to exist. Natural selection only chooses systems that are already working. And so you have to have all the parts together. They all have to be in the right relationship with each other for it to work. Missing a part, it doesn't work. So you can't build it slightly over time because it wouldn't function at all until all the parts were present. And if it isn't functioning at all, evolution would not preserve it. When we look at the mousetrap, what do we see? We see obvious signs of an intelligent designer. But what's truly amazing is in the last 50 years, as science has delved into the biological realm, we see the same thing over and over again. We see evidence for an intelligent designer. Give an example of a biological machine called a bacterial flagellum. And what that is, some bacteria have little tails on them. And this flagellum is like a motor. It's like a rotary motor that propels bacteria through fluid. Now, all of the parts of this little bacterial motor, all of the parts have to be present and fully functioning for this thing to work. Now, this little motor, it's an amazing thing. It's 1/100,000th of an inch long. But it can spin at 10,000 RPMs. It can stop in a quarter turn, and it can spin backwards at 10,000 RPM. Can you believe that? If you know anything about cars, you ever see that Honda S2000 sports car? It can only spin at 9,000 RPMs. This little thing, 100,000th of an inch long, 10,000 RPM, stop at a quarter turn, and backwards 10,000 RPM. Howard Berg of Harvard University said, it is the most sophisticated motor in the universe. Science, with all of our technology, cannot produce anything like it. He said, it is the most efficient motor anywhere. Well, genetic studies have shown that between 30 and 35 proteins are needed to make a functional flagellum, this little motor. If you eliminate one of the parts, it doesn't spin at 5,000 RPM. It doesn't spin at all. And Darwinists have not been able to come up with any rational explanation that would explain how this could have come about by naturalistic means. So I interviewed Dr. Behe for my book, and he told me this, quote, "My conclusion can be summed up in a single word: design. I say that," he said, "based on science. I believe that irreducibly complex systems are strong evidence of a purposeful, intentional design by an intelligent agent." That's his conclusion from the science.